Hello and welcome to another episode of the ACC Insider Podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. My name is Rob Doster. The guy that you can't see right now is Jeff Goodman, who is en route to the Atlanta Regional. I'll be heading up to Newark tomorrow to see Duke play and see Duke make a run at getting back to the Final Four for the first time in the John Shire tenure. Goodman, let's start with this, man. We saw one weekend of Duke basketball, and I don't know if we've seen a player in the NCAA tournament shooting the ball as well as Tyrese Proctor is right now. How important is that for the Blue Devils?
I mean, it's crazy because the last time we saw him in the NCAA tournament, he couldn't make a shot, and they lost to NC State. And I was worried then, like, does Tyrese Proctor make the wrong decision and just leave school and put his name in for the draft and say, the hell with it? You know what? I know my stock isn't that high, but I'm out. And talk about a guy who made the right decision, right? I mean, you've said it, he's bought into his role now, which has really changed since he came into college. Everybody thought he was a point. Now he's more of a two who shoots the hell out of it, who can play some point, I think, at the next level. But no, I haven't seen anybody shoot it like this in a long time in two NCAA tournament games, especially a guy that couldn't really make a shot early on in his college career, and it was in his head because obviously we know he can shoot the ball.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch him grow, and I've said this multiple times on I don't even remember what platform I'd say stuff on at this point, but his development and growth into being one of the better 3-and-D guys in college basketball has been a lot of fun to watch because when you are a point guard, you have the mentality of being a point guard. That is your identity. That is who you are. That is position you play. That is what you do. And to see him embrace playing a different role is something that is not easy for players to buy into. I made this comparison earlier, and I can't remember if I said it to you. He reminds me of Quinn Cook. And Quinn Cook, if for people that are listening to this, was a McDonald's All-American 5-star recruit that came to Duke, played 3 years, was a junior, was an All-ACC guy as a junior. And then as a senior, Tyus Jones comes in. And Tyus Jones is a point guard. He's about to be the number 7 pick in the draft. And it's him and Jahlil Okafor. And Quinn Cook sacrifices. He moves over, plays off the ball. He buys into a role. He buys into being the guy that plays that is the shooter that spaces the floor for Jahlil Okafor and Tyus Jones. They end up winning a national championship in a year where Kentucky was about to go undefeated, and he ends up parlaying that into like an 8-year professional career. I think he's still bouncing around Europe right now at this point. Like he's turned that into being an avenue of making quite a bit of money and being a basketball lifer. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he accepted a role. Because if you're going to make it at the next level, man, unless you are like one of 30, 40 guys that are at the elite level, you're going in as a role player and you have to go in and do a specific job. I think Tyrese has shown people he can do that.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And he's a guy that it's so funny because, people don't talk about him enough as a guy that could really beat you. Everybody talks obviously about Cooper and Khan and, even Khan on the three freshmen. Obviously, he's not going to beat you on the offensive end, but he's going to beat you on the other end of the court. But like Tyrese Proctor's just kind of managed to fly under the radar most of the year. And he is a guy that now can be that number two guy to Cooper Flag. They have a couple guys that can do that, and there's not too many teams in the country, that have that luxury that John Shire does.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about this, man, because right now Duke is the favorite to win the national title. They've looked like the best team in college basketball the last month. Florida has come back down to earth a little bit in this tournament. They didn't look great
Yep.
against Norfolk State. They almost got picked off by UConn. And Duke right now looks like the team to beat in college basketball. They get Arizona and our old friend Caleb Love in the Sweet 16, and then if they advance, they will play the winner of BYU Alabama. What do they have to do to avoid getting picked off in this regional? Is there anything that you think is maybe a weakness that is identifiable in their game?
What do they have to avoid, or what do they have to do to Arizona?
How does Duke win? How does Duke get to a Final Four?
I mean, realistically, it's fairly simple, right? Frustrate Caleb Love, force him to do what he can do at times, which is play AU ball. Play AU ball and start jacking bad shots and making poor decisions. He played extremely well against Oregon. Made all the right decisions, was efficient Caleb. If he's efficient Caleb and he gets some help from some of those other guards, especially Jaden Bradley and KJ Lewis, then I think Arizona can give him a game. You got to remember, you know, like this game that everybody's going to look back at what was it, the fifth game of the season?
Hmm.
Well, Carter Bryant wasn't Carter Bryant for Arizona, number one. And I know Duke's players, they were young in their careers too, but they were much further along. Carter Bryant has become much better. Caleb Love was really not good early this season. And he's been kind of a different player here over the last month or so. So it's not the same matchup that people are going to look at and say, well, Duke killed him in Tucson. This should be an easy one. Well, it should be. But if Caleb Love plays like he did against Oregon, then Arizona could have a chance because he is capable of carrying that team, and they've got enough around him and on both ends of the court. Defensively, certainly with KJ Lewis and Jaden Bradley and some of their other guys, Carter Bryant, they've got enough guys that if Duke plays, let's say they play their C game. If they play their C game, they could go home.
Yeah. The other thing about it is for Arizona, I think that going from Monteus Krivas to Henry Visar has changed it a little bit because now you get a different look at the five. Like Krivas and Toby Awaka were kind of doing the same thing and playing in the same roles, and now you have a guy that is like a 7'1" floor spacing, rim running, lob catching athlete, and you have another guy that is like a bulldozer on a
Yeah.
basketball court. And I think that having those two being able to rotate in and out at the five has kind of changed who they are and how they can play. So I don't think this is going to be a walk
You
in the
never
park.
want the same look. Yeah, you never want
Yes.
the same look at the five with your 2 5 men, unless you're the Houston Cougars, right? That's the only one that they can have like 8 guys like that in their five. But most teams, you want, like you said, a floor spacing five and then a bruising, rebounding, shot blocking, rim protecting, rim running five. Like that. That's ultimately what you would like, and that's what Arizona has right now. And that is part of the reason they've been better. But again, I think it's Caleb Love has been a different player over the last month or so. And I think Carter Bryant's given him minutes that he didn't give him early on in the season.
Yep. One thing to note, John Shire did say today at the the East Regional media availability that Malik Brown is day to day, and that there's a chance he could be available on Thursday night against Arizona.
Little
Um,
gamesmanship here between two buddies, right? Shire and Tommy Lloyd. I
mhm.
think Shire is just playing the little gamesmanship deal here, trying to make Tommy Lloyd guessing.
Yep. I mean, look, we've seen the shoulder thing with Lamont Butler at Kentucky. It just and look, Randolph Childress has who's on this pod has dealt with shoulder injuries before. The way that it kind of works with those things is um, you're going to be a pain management thing. You're going to keep jarring it. You're going to keep having these moments where you re-injure it until you get surgery to correct it in the offseason. So if he ends up playing, then he is just one tough SOB. Goodman is the way that I would probably phrase it. Give me your prediction. Give me your
Uh,
prediction before we get to. By the way, I didn't even tease it yet. We have an interview with Seth Curry coming up
oh
here.
yeah,
Who
yeah.
has Goodman? You'll be shocked to discover this that Seth has filled out multiple brackets this year, and he has Duke winning in all of his brackets. Uh,
Wow.
so he
All right.
fun interview with him presented by Bush's Beans, and he gives us gives us his all time Duke starting five. He talks a little bit about playing with Kyrie Irving and the experience of sitting out in an era when everybody decides to transfer and get eligible immediately. So that's a
Can I,
fun
can I
interview.
tell you? Can I tell you? Seth and Steph might be like two of the nicest kids ever I've ever dealt with at any level in any sport. Um, Doing this for whatever 25, 30 years that I've been doing it. Like they're just, I don't know. There's just something about the Currys that like you just smile when you think about what they did, how they got there, right? How they got there and how they haven't changed. I think that's the biggest thing when you talk about Seth and Steph Curry is, and obviously Steph being at the highest level. Like anytime I see him, it's the same deal. It's just the smile, hey Jeff, and I wasn't even that close with him. And Seth's the same way. Like they're just the highest character kids. I say kids, they're not kids, obviously.
Yeah, it was pretty funny in the interview. You'll be able to see his kids walking around in the background outside of his office, just strolling around on a
Well,
Wednesday
well,
afternoon, hanging out at home with dad. Is It's pretty funny. All right, Goodman, give me your prediction. Is Duke going to make it out of the East Regional and get to the Final Four?
I believe so. I believe so. I just don't think these. I think these guys are on a mission, and I think they have been from like practice one. And I think Cooper Flag set the tone early that, hey, I'm not Cooper Flag. I'm not who you think I am. I'm not having special treatment here. I just came in to win a championship. I didn't come in thinking the number one pick and, Ace Bailey's in the mix and Dylan Harper and BJ Edgecombe and Trey Johnson. Like, none of that. None of that. This kid has come in and set the tone for this Duke team. And he's been unflappable. He hasn't changed kind of who he is and how he plays, and I think it's just rubbed off on the rest of the team. So, Blue Devils beating my alma mater, Arizona, who doesn't want to claim me these days, and then going on to.
I don't want to claim you these days.
Well, I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Uh,
Uh,
Look,
yeah,
I'll say this one last thing on Cooper Flag.
yeah,
You mentioned the draft stock thing. I don't think he cares about that. I don't think it matters to him where he gets drafted. Now, maybe it will on draft night. Maybe that's something that he wants to have happen. But I don't think he strikes me as the kind of guy. There's a saying, "BR where your feet are," right? And he strikes me as the kind of guy whose sole focus is winning whatever is in front of him. And I think
yeah,
he understands, whether consciously or unconsciously, that the best thing that can happen to him in his career is to just keep winning, play the right way,
yeah,
go out there and win, be like do all the things that he could do, but everything else will take care of itself. It doesn't matter what his stats are, it doesn't matter what his numbers are, it doesn't matter what anybody else does. As long as he does what he is supposed to do and they win the games that they are supposed to win, then everything is going to be just fine in the world of Cooper Flag. And I think that he really strikes me as the kind of guy that isn't worried about the big picture stuff. He's worried about what is happening right now in this moment. And right now in this moment, that is going out and trying to beat Arizona to get to the Elite Eight. He really
yeah.
strikes me as that kind of guy.
No, his focus might be as big of an attribute as anything for Cooper Flag. And that's hard to do as a, 17, 18-year-old kid in this world that we're living in right now, to be able to focus and lock in on something. Man, I know I can't do it. And I'm, supposed to be a lot further along and more mature than Cooper.
Yep. Yeah, we learned that the hard way today when you decided to drive during the scheduled recording that we had for the podcast. So, look, Goodman, let's get to that interview with Seth Curry. Enjoy your time down in Atlanta. Please don't get in any accidents on the road out there. I would like to be able to have our South Regional correspondent available for the second week of the NCAA tournament. So, travel safe, and we will see you again on this podcast probably on Monday, assuming that Duke finds a way to get out of the East Regional. Until then, enjoy our interview with Seth Curry. Now, let me welcome on to the field of 68, Seth Curry, who knows a thing or two about college basketball and a thing or two about Duke basketball. Seth, what's going on, man? First and foremost, let me ask you this. Did you fill out a bracket this year?
I did. I filled out a couple. I don't think you wouldn't be surprised that Duke is going all the way in all of them. So, yeah, they're looking good.
Why are they looking good? What makes you so impressed about this Duke team?
I mean, first of all, they got the talent. They look like an NBA team out there with their size, versatility all over the floor. But they're also peaking at the right time. Like Coach K used to always say, you want to be your best at the end of the season, not at the beginning. So I know they
Mhm.
had some tough losses early on, but I feel like they're peaking at the right time. All their guys are playing well. They're playing together, and they're looking good.
I know you've seen Cooper play quite a bit. You've also spent quite a bit of time in the NBA. How do you think he fits at the next level?
He can be as good as he wants to be. I mean, he's the versatility he brings on the offensive end. I mean, there's times where he can take over a game with his scoring. He can get his teammates involved, be that point forward type of guy on the offensive end, and then defensively he's doing it all too already at this young age. So I think he's going to translate really well to the next level. Be a one of those main guys on the team from the get go, and I'm excited to see him grow. And the main thing I like about the game is just his competitive spirit. Like he ain't afraid to take on the challenge. He came on the campus from day one, it seemed like, and took on that role as one of the guys on the team, and that's not easy to do at Duke.
Yeah, he expects to be great. I think that's
Yeah,
the thing I like the most about him. Like, there's a level of confidence where it's not how am I going to get this done. It's all right. This is going to happen. Now I got to go do it.
yeah, exactly. He's not afraid of anything, and I mean, when you go to Duke, that's the mentality you got to have. But especially one of those freshmen who coming in with a lot of expectation.
Yeah. So I see you. You got the Bush Beans shirt on over there. I like how you got
Yeah,
it in Duke colors. Was that intentional?
they knew what they were doing. They knew to send me the Duke blue beans hoodie or sweatshirt or whatever. So they're doing some good stuff over there.
Yeah. Tell me about Bush Beans and why you're here.
Yeah, so we got a good partnership collab with Bush Beans. I mean, it's authentic to in my household just because obviously Bush Beans has a family recipe they've been doing for a long time, but we kind of got our own in my household. It's called Curry Family Caviar, kind of a play on cowboy caviar, if you've ever heard of it. So we take the
Hmm.
Bush's beans and mix them in with a bunch of different veggies and something we can snack on, especially around tournament time when you're sitting at home watching a lot of different games. You need something to eat and snack on. So um, my wife introduced me to it, and it's been a staple in our home for a few years now.
Where can I get some of those, man?
Go well, all the fans, you yourself, the fans can go to yourfamonacan.com. Go to the link. You can get your. I don't know if you can see this from the video, but you go on the website and you can get your own family name on there. You can pick what type of bean you want, what label you want, and like I say, get your name on it and even put a recipe on the back. So it's a cool campaign to get the fans involved and have a nice little keepsake for
There you go. You get your own personalized Candace Seth
them.
Curry beans. So I
Yeah,
wanted to ask you. So you spent your freshman season at Liberty, and then you transferred and you sat out a year. And
yeah.
you see the transfer portal now and how crazy it's going. I mean, kids are leaving after their freshman year to transfer, and then transferring again, transferring again. What was did you get value from sitting out? Like, do you think you are where you are right now as a basketball player if you had not had that year off?
No way, no way. I don't think I was ready to be a professional by any means or at that time in my career. But I really, when I was transferring, I really had to think long and hard about whether I wanted to transfer and switch schools because I knew I had to sit out. Now it's like it's weird if you don't
Hmm.
think about transferring. So um, I mean, I transferred strictly for basketball reasons. Somewhere I could improve on my game, play against the best, play with the best. Somewhere that's going to be beneficial for me in the long term, not really just somewhere where I'm trying to get a check for a year. So I think this hopefully that doesn't get lost in today's age where you're going through some growing pains, going through some adversity, and not being short sighted.
I got to imagine that year wasn't the easiest thing for you to do. Like, first and foremost, correct
Yeah,
me if I'm wrong, but it was the year they won the title, right?
yeah, it was tough. It was tough. I came off like I said, I was at Liberty my freshman year. I led the country in freshman scoring. I was playing 30 plus minutes a night. It was fun that I transferred. I knew, I mean, when I was transferred, I knew I would have to sit out. So I knew it was stuff I could work on throughout that year, getting stronger, working on different parts of my game while I sat out. But you're not watching those guys go out there and compete and make that run during the tournament was tough because I want to be out there playing on that stage. But I mean, I learned a lot. I was around that backcourt. I was around that backcourt of
Hmm.
Nolan and Nolan Smith, John Shire, two great coaches now, actually. But Yeah, I mean, I was trying to help those guys prepare for games, and it made me a better player in the long run.
Yeah, so you got to spend some time around John when he was still a
Yeah,
student athlete. Are you surprised that he's had this much success this quickly? Like, first of all, he looks like he could be Cooper Flagg's older brother. Like that dude is not
yeah.
38 years old. But there's a maturity about him that when you talk to him, he doesn't feel like he's as young as he is.
Yeah.
It's a strange. I mean, he looks so young and he behaves and his maturity levels beyond his years.
I mean, it's weird just seeing Duke in that sideline and John Shire being the head guy over there. That's the only the
Mhm.
surprising thing. But as far as John being a good head coach and doing it his way, I'm not too surprised. He's a basketball similar to myself. Like he's a basketball junkie, man. Like he eats, sleeps, and just lives basketball in every sense of the word, and he's competitive as they come. So, um, and I mean, I knew that's part of the reason probably he got the job is he's a younger guy. He can relate to the recruits, a lot of the players in a different way, and it's been good to see him keep bringing in those strong recruiting classes, and also now it's good to see him not necessarily try to do it Coach K's way. He's put his own stamp on that program, running it the way he wants to run it, and hopefully he can just get to the pinnacle and get to a Final Four championship and and continue to add to that legacy.
Yeah, I think the surprising part of it more than anything was that he was the guy that ended up getting the job. Like there were a number of sitting
Yeah.
head coaches that came from Duke. Was that something that, I mean, had you guys internally Duke grads, had you heard about him being the one to get it, or did that surprise you guys as well?
I'm trying to think back, but I think I was very surprised when I heard that he was the guy. I mean, we had some other names out there: Jeff Capel,
Mhm.
Collins, I think Wojo. I mean, those are some of the names you were hearing about guys that might get the job just because they were older and they had head coaching experience. I feel like thought they were going to have to go to somebody that had head coaching experience, but they took a chance on John. Obviously, Coach K had a big say in that and doing a great job. Like I said, he didn't miss a beat with the on the recruiting trail. He works his tail off in that sense, and I think he's learning as an X and O guy, learning as an actual basketball coach how he wants to put a stamp on that program.
Yeah, there it's been a lot of fun to watch him grow into that role. Um,
Yeah,
your first year at Duke, you played with Kyrie Irving and Nolan Smith in the backcourt. First and foremost, man, how good was Kyrie in college? He only played what like 9 games that first year, but he was like a cheat
man, it was
code.
crazy. Yeah, I remember the first day he came on campus and we played pickup, and after like the first set game, I looked at somebody. I'm like, yeah, that's the number one pick in the draft. Like he's that guy. Like he's special, man. He got stuff you can't teach, and you can see it back then. But yeah, that whole team was stacked. And we had Nolan, like you said, Kyrie, Kyle Singler, who was one of the best college players I've seen. Plumlee. We had first round NBA talent from top to bottom. So that was a special team. I feel like I say this all the time, but I feel like if Kyrie didn't go down, we would have went undefeated that year. I couldn't see anybody that was matching up to us that year. So we had a special group.
Yeah, you had first round picks coming off the bench that season. That's that's
Yeah.
not uncommon when it comes to Duke these days.
Yeah, nah. But back then, it was us in Kentucky that was the only one doing that, really.
Yeah.
Carolina, maybe.
Who was the best out of those guards that you played with? Was it Kyrie? Because I don't think people remember,
Yeah,
man. Nolan
Kyrie.
Smith that one year, he was like first team
No.
All American good.
Yeah, he was legit special. Like when Kyrie went down, he took over that main guy role, and he went on. There was no stopping him. So, but I mean, yeah, I mean, Kyrie was special. Austin once, like halfway through Austin Rivers'
Mhm.
freshman season too, who I played with the next year, he was a special talent too. It took him a little while to adjust to the college level and playing for Coach K, but once he did, he was good too.
Yeah, the shot that he hit against Carolina in the Dean Dome that's one of those all
Yeah,
time college basketball moments.
yeah, that was special, man. Just being there for that and being a part of that game, that's something that's gonna live in infamy. You never forget that game.
Yeah. All right. I forgot to ask you this before, but about that the national title game in 2010, when Gordon Hayward
Yeah.
shot is in the air, are you thinking like that thing's going in? Are you thinking that has a shot? Did it look good from where you were sitting?
Yeah, I was at the end of the bench and it looked good the whole time. I'm like, there's no way. So my heart stopped for a little bit when it hit the backboard and went off the rim. But I mean, that was a special run, special time, and
All right.
yeah, that was a special group.
Seth, I'll end it with this, man. I need your all-time Duke starting five.
Man, every time somebody asks me this, it changes. So trying to find some consistency in my starting five. But I'm gonna give you Kyrie at the one. And then see, the two is always tough because my two favorite Duke players ever are JJ and Trajan Langdon. But I'm gonna go JJ Redick at two. And then three, Grant Hill.
You got to get
Four,
Grant Hill in there.
Zion.
It's got to be Grant
Yeah,
Hill.
Grant's my guy. Yeah. Zion at the four. It was my five. Yeah, I mean Christian Laettner.
Christian Laettner at the five. Look,
Yeah, Christian Laettner at the five.
I don't want to tell you how to live your life, Seth, but the fact that you don't have Jay Williams in your starting five for your all-time Duke team tells you about some of the talent
It's
that
tough.
has come through Durham.
It's tough, but Kyrie played 9 games and he made my list. That's
Do
how
you
different he is.
do you make the rotation of an all-time Duke team?
I think I'd come off the bench in that 6-man role and knock down some shots for you. I
You're one
had
of the
some good
walk-ons on the bench.
games there. Yeah.
Listen, Seth, we appreciate you being here, man. Thanks for jumping on, and best of luck to your Dukies. I got them winning too, man. So hopefully we can win our brackets together.
All right, let's do it. Appreciate you.